Welcome, everyone. We are so excited that you have decided to join us today, midweek, to discuss all things breast cancer early detection. We know it's a sacrifice for you to be here, so we are going to jump right in. We have a very busy schedule today. My name is Vanessa Joy Walker, and I am privileged to be a co founder of the Breast Cancer Early Detection Coalition. And I work very closely with G2G, Liz, and her team, and women's health advocates. We're excited that Sally Wolf, who is also a co founder, is going to be sharing her very important experience with cancer and survivorship. Sally is an incredible woman. I am excited to say that I've known her for over a year now, and yet it feels like I've known her for 20 years. We instantly connected because we have that shared experience of cancer. When I first met her, I thought of her as a LinkedIn star, and I thought she's not going to want anything to do with me. But boy, was I wrong. She is one of the most down to earth, incredible women advocates and fierce friends that I could ever meet. And I'm so excited for you to get to know her more. So take it away, Sally.
Thank you for the intro. I so remember that moment. It was pretty much exactly a year ago. So here we are now. I know I don't have a lot of time, and I do have a story with a lot of twists and turns, as most cancer patients do. So I'm going to jump right in. And in our brief time, I wanted to share what I would call a few of my cancer dots, which I chose a few photos that you saw that help bring those to life. And if anyone else remembers Steve Jobs' amazing commencement speech at Stanford, which was 20 years ago this month, he spoke about how we can only most meaningfully connect the dots of our lives looking backward. And what I would add is that when we do, we not only find meaning, but also great purpose alongside the pain. So the photos that I chose are each a meaningful dot along my path to our work together. I am the daughter of a breast cancer survivor. I was 46 at the time of my diagnosis. Sorry, my mom was 46 at the time. I was 14. She is now 81. This year will mark 36 years of survivorship. So we are so grateful for that. But I really don't think that I understood at age 14 that I could have lost my mom until so many years later when we did our first breast cancer walk. And I saw so many in memory of signs on backs. And I remember thinking not only how lucky I was, but also how vigilant I needed to be. So, fast forward to age 32, I began getting screened. I got mammograms and sonograms because my mom guided me and helped me to push for that because I had dense breast tissue. And when I was 40, I felt that palpable lump and it felt different. My mammogram was still clean. My sonogram showed one suspicious lump, which turned out to be cancer. And after my diagnosis, a subsequent MRI showed a second. So, clean mammogram, one sonogram tumor, two on the MRI, same breast. And just like that, I was diagnosed with what was just like my mom's cancer. So much so that almost 30 years later, I had the same exact treatment. I opted for a double mastectomy, which she had not had, but we had the same exact chemo, ACT, which is very common. The only difference in those decades, mine was every 2 weeks, hers was every three. So I finished chemo 9 years ago this month. And I was given a prescription for tamoxifen, which is very common, a hormone suppressor. And I was told I was cured and to go get back to my life, which is a whole other conversation. I know we've touched on the fact that mental health wise, cancer is forever, even once you are cured. And the photo that I showed in the middle of me with my, what I came to see as a beautiful bald head is one that I did as part of a bald photo shoot because I realized I wanted to remember that moment in time. I wrote about it for Allure and I can pop the link in after. And I went back to my life. And less than 2 years later, and there's the photo that I shared of me with my nephew. I'm blowing up balloons. He's like my little assistant. That photo was taken less than 2 years later. My hair is nicely growing back. I was healthy. But what you can't see in the background, or what you couldn't see, is that my entire family was assembled watching us, because earlier that day I had received the call that truly changed my life. It was the call confirming that my cancer had spread to my hip. And it was an especially big blow because I had mentioned a subtle hip pain mere months after chemo ended. And a series of scans throughout 2017 led doctors to dismiss it. And the pain had cleared up. So I was again fine. But in early 2018, my oncologist felt another lump beside my implant, something I didn't even know was possible. And that new lump became a new biopsy, a new diagnosis, but at least it was still early stage and local and therefore fully curable. 2 days later, a PET scan lit up in my left hip. And on April 11th, 2018, less than 2 years after I was cured, that biopsy came back positive for breast cancer in my left hip. So that third diagnosis was the one where the vocabulary changed: metastatic, stage 4, incurable. And I personally was most obsessed with the word curable or incurable, because the messaging that we all know, that we share when we advocate, is so clear. If we are vigilant, we catch it early. And if we catch it early, we are cured. So, what did incurable mean? For me, it's meant advocacy, initially through media, because I was a media executive for 20 years. So I understood how to get the NBC story onto places like Good Morning America. And I've written for Cosmo and really tried to elevate that narrative. I also was really called to advocate in DC. And that is why I was so called and so feel so proud to be a part of our coalition. It's important to me to elevate the NBC story because it's often overlooked, in part because it is scary, right? I would have been my worst nightmare 8 years ago. And in part because all of the 42,000 who die each year in this country alone of breast cancer are dying of MBC. So there are literally fewer folks around to tell our stories. And as we all know, it's important to share our stories for those who follow. So, a few quick facts, because we usually focus on early detection, which I still think is so important. I want to be clear. MBC is one diagnosis, but it is so varied. It matters where it spreads, how much it's spread, what the biology is, what the hormone receptor positivity is, et cetera. But the common thread is it has gone somewhere outside of the breast. Common spots are the bone, which is what I have, bone mets, liver, lungs, brains are the brain or the other common spots. Up to 10% of MBC patients are de novo, meaning they were stage 4 from the outset. The rest are people like me who were cured of early stage, only to find out that despite doing everything right, despite being vigilant, despite having whatever aggressive surgery or chemo or whatever else, something still went wrong. And as it turns out, there are a lot of us. So 30% of those who are cured end up metastatic. So I am not only 1 in 8, but also amongst 3 in 10. Life expectancy has grown, but not enough. A median survival rate is about 3 years. 5-year survival rate for stage 4 is about 32%. It's about 1 in 3. I have been incredibly lucky. I am 7 years later, still on what's called my first line of defense, meaning the oral chemo and other medicines I began in 2018 are still working. I knock a lot of wood. I have no evidence of disease, NED. It's different than cured, but I will take it gratefully. I've still had a few hiccups. My implants have actually been recalled. They're linked to a lymphoma, so I have to get them out at some point. And my femur is now bionic because a medicine damaged it so badly I needed surgery and a titanium rod. But overall, those are small hiccups. I've been incredibly fortunate. And so for me, this work, what fortunate in NED means is that I continue on my meds. I still get regular PET scans. I cross my fingers, I knock my head, and I hope that I get to stay on these meds forever or until a true cure is created. And I identify, the last thing I'll say, as a thriver, not a survivor. And the reason that term was coined in the stage 4 community, for the stage 4 community, is to distinguish us because we never graduate to survivorship. And so while I'm not the only person who can share a story like this, we're still a minority, a growing minority, but nonetheless, I say that, and that can change at any moment. but I have deep faith that I'm here to share this story for a reason. And I say, I just turned 50. I say I'm going to live to be 88. Vanessa's heard me say this. It's double infinity if you turn it on its side. And I feel that this dot in my story is to both help spread awareness and hope for stage 4. So the very last thing I'll say is back to our work and why I feel so passionately about early detection. It is still vital. It is still our best. There's no way to prevent breast cancer. So the best we can do is to find it early. And I believe the best, strongest breast cancer communities are all inclusive. Passionate folks who are on this call for whatever the reason. You are an ally, you are a previvor, you are a survivor, you are a thriver, you are a caregiver, you are a human who cares. Because as we all know, with all sorts of diversity, we are all better together. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sally. I have chills every time I hear your expertise and your experience because you share it with such passion, but also, you have the generosity of spirit to share the difficulties, right? To not gloss over the fact that it's a hard journey. So thank you for being here, and I'm so thankful you are here. Um, we are we're going to move on to some updates because there's a lot going on in DC. If you have been following any news, DC is a constantly evolving place, and I'm going to welcome Liz to share some updates for us.
Hello, hello. Thank you for
Hi,
that.
hi, Liz.
Thank you for sharing, Sally. You two have inspired me so much, and you're just such an ultimate change maker. I really want to thank and honor you and all patients who share their stories to educate and illuminate these issues. It's amazing, and it's really, it's totally shifting the paradigm. So your impact is humongous. And as someone who's trying to convince members of Congress and staff, it's incredibly helpful because it puts a human face on it. So I just want to do an extra special thank you to you and to all patient advocates out there because you really make this possible. So thank you. Big heart coming to you. Okay, so lots going on in DC. It's been a little bit crazy. So we are in the thick of markup. The House and the Senate every year they do these appropriations bills. The House is always ahead of the Senate, and they have 12 subcommittees, and each of those subcommittees marks up their bill. Um, One at a time in that subcommittee, and then they send it to the full committee. They do more markup, and then they send it to the floor where you can do floor amendments, hopefully. And then the same thing happens in the Senate. So right now it's like incredibly hectic. The House is starting to do their markups. Ag FDA came out, defense is happening. So there's a lot happening that is impacting us and our efforts in advocating for women's health. So we're in the thick of that. And we are tracking funding and language that slipped in around breast cancer. Absolutely. I did not see any reference in the FDA section of the bill. And the Labor, Health, and Human Services and Education bill is not, that mark is not happening until next month. So, but we're on it. We're tracking that. There also is defense. There's a line in the defense appropriations bill, and that has continued for breast cancer research. So that's good. So that's happening now and sort of all consuming for us on the G2G team. But other things, the reconciliation bill that just passed the House and is now under consideration in the Senate had dramatic cuts. $290 billion cut to SNAP, which is the supplemental food program, $780 billion cut to Medicaid, and then with these new work requirements. And interestingly, there's no exemption. I mean, in a bad way, interestingly, but there's no exemption coverage for a woman who goes through a miscarriage or has a pregnancy loss or any related complications. They then no longer fall under the exemption to stay on Medicaid, so they can literally lose their insurance, at least in the House version. So that's something we're really getting active on. We're going to talk about that in a little bit later. There's been Doge. I mean, Elon Musk said goodbye in a really funky way. But we still have all these cuts. There's been over 15,000 grant terminations within NIH, 800 of them. We scoured through and found all the ones that are touching women's health, and we used that as a handout on Capitol Hill when we did our May 21 Capitol Hill Day. So we are trying to educate on what happens when you do this chainsaw type of budget work. I talked about appropriations that's now underway. The president came out with his budget proposal for appropriations for FY26, which starts October 1. And so his is more like a blueprint, a guideline, but it's really the House and Senate committees that come up with those details. So his was pretty severe cuts. It was 23% cuts overall for domestic, and then 13% increase for defense. So good that our breast cancer research line is in that defense bill, but frustrating for how they reorganized NIH with a huge 40% cut in funding for NIH. So lots of shifts happening there. Those are sort of updates on like what DC is focused on these days. I think the whole reconciliation bill and appropriations will be all consuming now through the end of July when they go on recess. There will be a brief recess for July 4th, but it will be very tense for Capitol Hill with that focus. Now, where are we with far as Find It Early Act? So that was introduced in the Senate by both Senators Klobuchar and Marshall, which is great. But it has not been reintroduced in the House, and the plan in the House is to wait until October. So when we are doing our Capitol Hill Day, which we're going to talk about, we're going to be pushing for the senators to co-sponsor that bill. We'll tell the House folks to watch for it. But then there's also the Access to Breast Cancer Detection Act. So we're going to be pushing for that as well. That was introduced by, again, bipartisan Senators Britt and Shaheen, and then Congresswoman Dingell, Wasserman Schultz, and Congressman Fitzpatrick. Other bills that have been introduced: Triple Negative Breast Cancer Research and Education Act, Metastatic Breast Cancer Access to Care Act, Women Veterans Cancer Care Coordination Act, and Screenings for Cancer Act. So there are other bills. These should sound familiar because they're from previous Congress. Every 2 years, you have to reintroduce. It's a whole new session. So we are supportive of all efforts that help defeat breast cancer. We care deeply about that early detection. We also care deeply about that journey and that we have more humane treatments and humane system for how we treat women and men who face breast cancer. So that's my update. And Vanessa, if I forgot anything, let me know, but that's my update.
No, thank you so much, Liz. And hearing you talk about this, it's like, you know this so well, but I know from stepping into the world in DC how overwhelming it can be. Uh, and I'm back. I think I'm back. Um, so I thank you so much for sharing all of your updates. I lost my internet connection for a second there, so we can go on to the next slide. So, we are super excited that we are coming up on a whole bunch of events that are going to be happening, and one of them is going to be a Hill Day for early detection. So we are so excited to announce that on July 16th, we will be doing a Capitol Hill Day, a private advocacy training and lunch, congressional meeting set up by the fabulous G2G team, and all joining together in the evening for a women's softball game, the Congressional Women's Softball Game. Um, spots are limited, so we really want people to sign up. We want people to come to DC, and it's going to be a wonderful time. I don't know if anyone from the G2G team wants to share extra about what we'll be doing that day.
Sure. We are going to start out the day with a lunch, so that we can connect with each other and then provide training on advocacy. I think some feedback we got is a little bit more preparation training around advocacy. So we want to make sure we're providing that. And some of you are old pros. You've done lots of these types of visits, and you can help educate and share with others on the team. So we really want to start out with that sort of ground setting foundation before we go conquer Capitol Hill. And then the G2G team, we're going to have sort of like team captains for groups, and we'll set up groups based on where you're from and some key offices that we want to target. And so we'll organize a handful of meetings, maybe 4 meetings per group. Um, and walk you around. So you don't have to worry. We'll make sure that you get to the right place. And then in those meetings, we'll also guide how those meetings will take place. But what's really important is that you as our patient advocate or advocate in general, that you can share your story and why it's important to you. I think starting off with that human connection is really important before we get to legislatively what we'd like to see the member do. So we'll do that. And then for those that can stay and go on to this congressional women's softball game, we will do that. It's sort of like a fun way to cap off the day. I'm not sure how much direct interaction we'll have with members. But it is an annual event where members and the media, folks in the media, come together to play a softball game. And they do have a private reception that night. So I think a lot of the staff will be there, so there'll be good networking for that and sort of a fun way to cap off the day. And so we also have a hotel that we've booked. I'll put the link in, that we blocked a bunch of rooms, similar to what we did for May 21. It's a great hotel. It's very close, and the rate is actually 259. So it's a lower rate, which is great. So if you wanted to come in on the day before, on the 15th, you can stay in the hotel and then join us on the 16th, or you could fly in and out on the 16th, whatever works for you. But we just wanted to have a hotel option. Um, and those are pretty much the details. So there won't be a congressional briefing and there won't be a reception that we're paying for like last time, because we got feedback from staff, and with everything that's happening right now, that it is not good timing to do a briefing. So that's why we're going to focus on these meetings. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, so exciting. And we can go on to the next slide. Um, it is going to be such an amazing day because we saw what an impact it makes when women come to DC, and a few men too, and advocate for change. And we just really wanted to thank this community because we know not all of you, some of you were able to come to DC for the Women's Health Hill Day, but many of you were not. But we wanted you to know that you still made a difference. All of the letters that you wrote, the sharing on social media, it helped fill that room. So just because you weren't able to get here, we are so appreciative of that you really made an effort to get people in the room. As you can see on these pictures, there were a lot of great advocates here, but the room was also filled up. I mean, it was standing room only, and it was filled with staffers, which is a really important thing. Next slide. Um, as Liz was talking earlier about, we are passionate about early detection here, but we also want to really support women's health in general. And one of the initiatives that the women's health advocates is focused on right now is writing a letter to really highlight the fact that CMS recently reversed its requirement for hospitals to provide emergency care for miscarriage complications. Um, Liz mentioned this earlier, and it's really important that we tell people what we think. So if you go to womenshealthadvocates.org, you can click on write a letter. The letter is already drafted for you, and you can personalize it with your experience, any insights you have, and then hit send. And just so you know how valuable this is, when we asked everyone to do this earlier, we had over 900 letters submitted for before the May event. And that is astounding. So we would
Well, not quite. We've had over 900 letters go in overall, but for the
overall.
event it was lower. It was just under 300. That was
Okay.
just for the event only, but that's pretty fantastic in like a week.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
very fantastic in a week. Um, uh, and so we're super excited about that. So please head to Women's Health Advocates and let your voice be heard. Next slide. We wanted to highlight again that your story matters. We can go on to the next slide. And we've made it even easier for everyone to share their experiences. This is Marissa Griffin. She was the very first person to send her picture to me for the Advocate Spotlight series. And she so generously shared her experiences with us about being diagnosed with breast cancer at an early age and having to fight to get MRI that actually led to the diagnosis. So we're so grateful that she is sharing her experience, not only with us as a community, but also with the community at large. And you can do that too. Next slide. We've made it really easy. If you click on this link that someone is going to put in the chat, and we will also send in a follow-up email, it will pull up a template that looks like the template you see on screen, and you can add your picture on Canva, add your text, add your name and your state, and share. Don't forget to tag us, LinkedIn, Breast Cancer Early Detection Coalition, and also Women's Health. And also we on Instagram, we have launched the Women's Health Advocates Instagram, so you can tag us there as well. If you have any questions about this, certainly email us and we will answer your questions. But we're excited to see everyone start to share their whys. Next slide. So I know that we only have 1 minute left, but we are so thankful that everyone showed up today. We want to remind people that if you have questions, to email us at hello@breastcancerearlydetectioncoalition.org. Don't forget to register for July 16th, the Capitol Hill Day. Register is going to close, and when it closes, it will be closed for good because meetings will have to be set up. So definitely, if you want to come, sign up early. Be sure to sign up for updates both at breastcancerearlydetectioncoalition.org, also womenshealthadvocates.org. There's so much going on, and we want to be sure that everyone is involved if they want to be involved. And connect with us on LinkedIn. We want to know what you're doing, and we want to make sure that you know what we're doing. I don't know if there's any questions that have popped up throughout the day. I don't know if Madeline or Liz or anyone saw any questions.
I am seeing some in the box. I'm trying to catch and um uh answer them. I think we've answered and I just want to say about states, like starting out, we're very focused on federal, but we have the vision to get down to that local level. There is a lot of state activity. We actually were on a call this morning about Virginia. So there are things happening on the state level. We do want to get to that. And then we also want to go big and go global. So we definitely will do more in those areas in the future. We're focused right now on July 16th and making sure that's a really effective day. And as we get closer, we'll know exactly how many people are coming and be able to have more details on that as far as what your experience will be that day. And then once we're through that, then I think we can start to shift and do more look at what's happening on the state level. I mean, ultimately, if we could have model legislation that then every state could work on, and I know a lot of you want to be active in your state level, even local level, there's things that you could do. So we are with you on that, and we want to make sure we get there. We're just trying to, be effective with what we're focused on right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining today, and we will see you in July. Um, Whoever can come, and we'll see you at the next meeting.